Movement! Hey, Jim, you know what? My husband has never accused me of being a memory expert. He's never, I don't think anyone has ever accused me of being a memory expert because that is not in my wheelhouse. But this next guest actually is not only accused, but has taken that title to another level.
Indicted,
thank you. As someone who has taken one of the most mysterious things about being human, which is our ability to remember, and turn it into both a world record and, guys, a teachable skill. Dave Farrow is a 2-time Guinness World Record holder for memory, which already, by the way, in my book sounds superhuman, until you hear him talk, guys, because what he's going to tell you is that memory isn't magic, even though I'd like to pretend it is. It's actually is trainable, it's intentional, it's accessible to all of us. So no more excuses, guys. When you forget to bring the flowers home, no more excuses. This is trainable. Dave's work does go beyond memorizing cards or breaking records, though. He's built an entire career around helping people sharpen their focus. I could use some help there, strengthen their message, and actually be remembered in a world that forgets things every 5 seconds. So through Farrow Communications, his book Brain Hacker, and his platform BrainHackers.com, he's blending neuroscience and storytelling and real-world communication in a way that makes the brain feel less like a mystery and more like the muscle we've been ignoring. What I love most about Dave is that he's not just teaching people how to remember information, though, guys. He's teaching how to remember themselves and their voice and their purpose. You know I love this crap. I say crap with all the love in my heart. So he's a superhuman, but he's telling you how you can be one, too. Please make welcome to the show our new friend, Dave Farrow. Good morning.
Good morning. Hey, what a great introduction. Thank you.
Well, thank you for remembering to be here. I know you've heard them all, but we're going to whip them all out.
Now, being indicted as a great memory, that being indicted is a new one. So I got to give you props.
Yeah, signed, sealed, delivered, and convicted, my friend. I want you guys to go to farrowcommunications.com to find out about about what it is they focus on from a marketing standpoint, but you can also go to brainhackers.com and Dave Farrow and all that kind of groovy stuff. Let me get the obvious question out of the way because there is so much more wonderful stuff to talk about. Explain how one goes about winning the Guinness World Record for the best memory of all time.
Absolutely. So what you might not know about me is I was diagnosed ADHD and dyslexic when I was a kid. And I know everybody seems to have ADD today, but for me, it actually put me at the bottom of my classes. I was really struggling, and I didn't really have a lot of future prospects unless I kind of figured out how my mind worked. And that's what started me on essentially being obsessed with memory and how it works. Everything from like old-timey mentalists to, of course, neuroscience and everything today. And what I came up with, it turned my grades around. I started helping other people even in my high school. And then I, went after a Guinness record to try to, go as big as I could. The Guinness record is that I memorized the exact order of 59 decks of playing cards. That's 3,068 cards in a row. I did it on Discovery Channel, so it was all like legitimate, had like multiple cameras on me at all times and witnesses and stuff as a Guinness record always is. And it was it was incredibly difficult. I had a headache for a week, but it is something that is trainable. I was not born with this. And the best way I can describe, like when you think of like 59 decks of cards, it sounds impossible. It takes training to get up. Like my first feat when I was 16 years old, I memorized 6 decks of cards for a United Way charity. And it was really funny because we raised like $4,000, which is a lot more than anybody expected because nobody expected me to remember all the playing cards of 6 decks of cards at the time. So people pledged like a quarter or 50 cents per card and didn't realize it really added up when I remembered 312 cards. So then I realized I was kind of onto something. I was hooked. So I tried to go after the Guinness record after that. But it is something that is possible for people. I don't want you to break my record, but I wanted to kind of inspire people to let them know that their memory is actually stronger than they think. It just has to be used in the right way.
Oh, don't lie. You're going to teach people stuff, but you're not going to teach them everything because we don't want to be as good as you. Just close, right? Yeah. I
Yeah,
see.
there's been there's a few people in the world who are like memory experts, considered memory experts like me, and a lot of people have tried, and the record still stands. So I'm open, and I respect anybody who does it. The person who last broke the record, I really respect him, and I broke it back from him, and we actually have a good friendship.
I see your break, and I raise you another.
I break
Hey,
you back.
I break you back. Dave, I'm really curious if you've noticed a difference in people's memory and your own, I guess, as well. But notice a difference in people's memory now compared to before the smartphone era.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Actually, there's a phenomenon for it. It was called the Google effect for a while, and now they're calling it AI brain, and there's a few other terms for it. But essentially, your brain is like a muscle, and the more that you use other tools to do your thinking for you, the weaker you're going to become. So we noticed it actually back even in the early '90s. When we were replacing, when we were right when we actually started having our address book on our phones. If you can remember back far enough to when we had like a little like piece of paper or Rolodex or a book that had all the phone numbers of all our friends and family and contacts and everything. The simple act of reading the phone number in, holding it in our head long enough to type it into our phone was actually a good enough exercise that it improved our memory, and most people could remember about 7 digits of any random number that they were given. That was one of the reasons why phone numbers are 7 digits long. But now, because we have our smartphones kind of thinking for us, we're actually at about 5 to 6 for most people. And so it's declined tremendously over the years, and we're starting to lose some of our cognitive ability, that is, our ability to do critical thinking because of AI. A lot of people in the workplace are using AI so much that they're not really even thinking for themselves, and it's becoming a real problem.
By the way, 482-3508, that's my childhood phone number. I actually decided just for fun
All
a
right.
couple of days ago.
972-733-4133.
That is
I
that's
remember mine
awesome,
too.
by the way. But I went back. I went back, by the way, and remember both my sets of grandparents' numbers, my Aunt Audrey's number. You're absolutely right. As a child of the '70s and '80s, man, you committed things to memory because if you had to get to a payphone, people didn't walk around with that in their hand, right? I mean, it really is. It seems like such a simple thing that we don't need anymore. It could become crucial. 7 digits could become crucial, and not be able to hold on to that is a real problem, especially if you find yourself in a real emergency situation, right?
Yes, absolutely. But the real problem is that it actually raises your risk for dementia. It raises your risk for Alzheimer's. Your brain really likes the exercise. That's the real challenge. So, when I teach this to people, I try not to be all doom and gloom. I don't try to say, hey, guilt people into waking up and doing their mental push-ups each morning or something like that. I mean, we live in the modern world. We like cell phones. We're not going to get rid of them anytime soon. So I actually say that I think we have to become more ambitious. Everybody has to have a bit of a pet project of something that they want to learn, like whether it's a language that they want to learn. Duolingo actually has done more for the brain in the last few years than almost any other app has, because the simple fact of trying to learn a new skill reverses all of this, negativity.
I wanted to kind of talk about this because you talked about your ADHD and you talked about the dyslexia, and one of the interesting things is a person who actually had the first of the two in high school, actually before then as well too. This really is about, you talk about the idea of relearning things, and one of the ways a lot of people get through a lot of the struggles of ADHD is they adjust their rhythm. They figure out the rhythm that they need to kind of function on, and we do know that neural pathways, we can actually change them. Is what you're talking about doing when you're helping people with their memory, figure out ways that they can turn their hyper focus or their what can often be a flow state into areas where it really will benefit them? Because I had somebody tell me once, Dave, that the great skill of the 21st century is to be able to read a book from cover to cover and actually process what you've read. And is it really about changing the rhythm of how you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So one of the techniques for ADHD, I can tell you right now, one of the strategies that I started using, and I teach this to university students, they say it's one of the best techniques that I teach, is called focus burst. And essentially, it is like treating studying kind of like you're a boxer in the ring, or like HIIT training, where you have a timer and you're trying to study as intensely as possible, but for a short period of time. Some people think of things like the Pomodoro technique, where you're studying for, say, like 45 minutes and then take a break. Well, what my study has actually shown is you can actually get something greater accomplished if you study for something in the neighborhood of 5 to 8 minutes. And I'm talking like really intensely. So you're focused on learning, that couple of words of vocabulary, or, a few technical terms in your book, something like that, in a short, intense burst of focus. And then you take a short break, something like 3 to 4 minutes, and then go back. It takes a little practice, but what you're doing is you're training your brain's ability to switch on focus and switch off focus. And what this does for students is it dramatically improves their ability to improve test scores. I actually got to tell you guys, I am speaking to you live right now from the island of Guam, because I'm here on a trip talking to high school students and talking to a whole conference here. And this all started because one of my students, Luan Nguyen, is a doctor here in Guam, and he used these very techniques to become a doctor. He contacted me 20 years ago saying, hey, I'm having difficulty with my standardized tests. I'm trying really hard, but it's just not working. And when the test hits, I'm blanking out. And I worked with him on this very focus burst technique, where he would focus intensely for a short period of time. And it's not about how long you focus. It's about the ability to switch focus, because we cannot multitask as human beings. We can't think of more than one thing at any given time. We have to focus on one thing at a time. But what we have to do is learn how to switch from one task to the other fully, so that we can be present and focused. And that it sounds kind of woo-woo a little bit, but it actually makes a big result in test scores.
So I'm the focus thing definitely hit home for me. But then I want to talk about clearing space, because Dave, my father always says to me, he's like, how is it that you know every word to every song ever written and no idea where your shoes are? That's like his ongoing thing with me. And I'm like, well, because we clear out space. So is there a portion in here where we're sort of subconsciously or consciously, either way, kind of prioritizing what stays in there? Am I, as I like to say, if you're redecorating a room and there's a couch right there, I can't put something else right there. Is it kind of that same mentality that I got to clear stuff out in order to let more stuff in? Is there any of that going on?
Yeah, actually, that's a really interesting way to put it. Your brain makes decisions as to what it wants to remember. And this is the thing that a lot of people don't understand. When you think of memory, you think it's just like a bucket in your brain that you throw stuff in and you hope you can pull stuff out. But as it turns out, the reticular activating filter, that part of your brain that actually looks at all the information that we encounter, and it says, oh, this information is important, this information is kind of boring, this information I'm going to forget about. It's the reason why one jingle sticks in your mind and you can't get it out of your head, and you hear a bunch of people's names or numbers or something, and you can't seem to remember it. It has to do with that principle. We call the principle novelty or rarity. It's the principle that allows our brains to pay attention to something that's unique and different, and you can train it. That's one of the principles that we train in memory techniques.
You mentioned jingles. I want to talk about something else you're really, really good at in regards to this, and talk about the connection between the ability to kind of master memory and also become a master marketer, and how they kind of intertwine, how the skill set actually matches up.
Yeah. So after I did the memory thing, I was on the Today Show. I've done did an infomercial, and I still speak on memory, and I absolutely love it. A bunch of people came up to me and they were like, how can I apply this to my business? Because I'm an author and I'm trying to sell as many books as I can, and I did pretty well selling, getting to be a bestseller, and they wanted to get some results. So I started to work on that, and it was really, really fascinating. fascinating. It was really, really interesting. When you think of memory, memory is nothing more than a connection. If I'm trying to memorize, say, foreign language vocabulary, well, I'm trying to make a connection between, in my case, the English word and the foreign vocabulary word, right? Well, when you think of a product, anything that you think of that reminds you of that product, that's the product's brand. It's nothing more than a memory. When you think of, hiring somebody, everything that you think of for that person, that's their reputation, and that'll affect whether or not you'll hire them. That's a memory as well. So I started using memory techniques in marketing, and it was a really big hit. And that's when we started Farrow Communications. We've been doing that for 12 years. I can give you some of the tricks. I don't want to just talk around it. I want to give you guys some real meat. One of the best ways that we do this is like when we're pitching the media, just like you guys, we'll use language in our pitch that will get you to visualize the guest actually on the show. And if we can get your customers to imagine them using the product, then there's a part of your brain that thinks that anything that you've vividly imagined actually happened. So it's like 10, 20 times more likely to happen if you get them to picture it. So you'll find this in advertising all the time, by the way. If you don't want to, use this to market your product, you should at least know this as an informed consumer. If brands and customers, brands and businesses can get you to visualize driving their car or using their product, you're much more likely to buy the product. So be aware of what pictures they're painting in your head too.
Hey, if you're looking for an extra job, we would like you to consider working for our sales team, Dave. I don't know if you have extra time. I know you don't have extra time because you literally have more links in our show notes than anyone I've ever seen. And I also have to know, because you said jingles. Have you seen Inside Out, the movie, the Disney Pixar movie Inside Out?
I love that movie. That is really a brilliant representation of how emotions work, actually, believe it or not.
And how when they're clearing it out, the little guys down in memory and core memory, they're like moving. They're like, yeah, get rid of piano lessons and keep arithmetic or whatever. I love that.
Yeah.
But it makes me think of, be curious to, is there, I guess, a spiritual or emotional component to memory? And I'm asking that in the way of like, does what we hold in our mind reflect who we are?
There's a great poem that I read when I first learned memory technique, and it was called "He Who Forgets." And I won't, recite it or anything. I'd love to look it up again because it's a nice poem, but it summarizes really how our human experience is really our experience of making memories. So yeah, one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about this is because I think our ability to remember things and our ability to form memories is the basis of what makes us human. I mean, we mostly talk about, I mostly help people learn skills, which is a human thing. You want to be good at whatever task, whatever vocation you do. But also, if you sharpen your memory for those tasks, you'll find that your memory is sharper for the other stuff, for the social things, for the fun things in life. You just, a mind that is exercised just gets sharper and feels sharper and has a larger human experience.
I wanted to, I keep on pivoting.
Pivot?
I keep on pivoting to other stuff because there's so much stuff to kind of talk about. He got it. He got it. He got it. Woo.
He didn't. He can't forget.
I'm down.
Yeah.
There you go.
I want to talk about BrainHackers a little bit as well too, because like I said, really the cool thing about all the different stuff that you kind of got cooking and going on is there is a lot of connective tissue between this stuff. But we're talking a little bit about BrainHackers and how that can serve as a hub for education and beyond.
Yeah, so when I was doing the memory thing for a long time and was proud of what I did, and we kind of had our arc for the product. And so I was speaking as the memory guy, and I started doing the marketing thing, right? And I run this PR firm, and I was doing well with that. But during COVID, we were all challenged, and I was challenged at the very core of everything that I thought I knew. So, here I thought I'm this self-help expert. I thought I could, manage my brain. I meditate. I do a lot of the things that you should do. And I was so bloody stressed out of my mind during COVID. I was trying to keep these businesses that, these things I got going on, keeping them alive and floating and keeping sales up and all that. And it was a really I mean, it was a tough time for everybody. I don't want to, be a martyr, but that's when I kind of opened my eyes up to it, perhaps I can teach more than just memory techniques. I could teach just brain hacks itself, because there are hacks for how to sleep better. There's hacks for how to communicate better in a relationship. There's a whole bunch of hacks I'm working on actually in a book called How to Forget, that helps you get rid of baggage and get rid of like past emotional stresses and memories and stuff. So I realized that there was so much more to this. So I wrote Brain Hacker, which has about 55 different hacks for all sorts of things in life, like how to stick to your diet and things like that. And then I opened it up to a bunch of experts. And BrainHackers.com, we have a few hundred self-help experts, and they've all written articles that are unique to the site. You can't find them anywhere else. And they are specific. They take less than 5 minutes to read, and they are a specific hack that solves something in your life. And I'm determined that in our modern life, cell phones and modern life have screwed up our brains. There is no doubt that the data is in. But what do we do about it, right? And I believe that brain training of some sort, understanding how your brain works, and just doing a little bit of brain training is the answer. It is the way to get our brains from thinking like a caveman brain into existing in modern life. And that's kind of my mission right now, to show people that just changing how you think can dramatically change the course and quality of your life. Even something like setting goals is a brain hack. So I want people to be brain hacking all the time.
I'm so glad you brought up that you're working on something that will help with, emotional baggage, or whether that's traumas or whatever, because it made me think of, I don't know if you've seen this, there's an episode of Black Mirror where there's a small implant that records everything a person sees and hears, and then it allows them to replay their memories with complete accuracy. And it's terrifying, by the way, because you'll walk into a room and your memory is projected in front of everybody. But what is that? Can you dive in just a little bit further? Because I want to ask you, is there something that you wish you personally, Dave, wish you could forget that you can't seem to forget?
Well, let me tell you, I don't want to have a perfect memory, right? I want to have a trained memory. And what I mean is that there are a handful of people in the world that are extreme recallers, as they're called. There's about 12 of them. The last time I looked, there was a study on it. And essentially you can go up to them and say, they're natural, they're genetic like this, they're genetic freaks like this. And you can ask them, any date, like June 24th, 1997 or something like that. And they'll say exactly what happened on that date, and they will be correct. They will be unbelievably correct. And to a person, these people are miserable. They're all depressed. There has been suicide. They have difficulty having relationships. So being able to forget and let go of stuff is an important part of the brain. Absolutely. So actually, I'll give you a little trick, a little hack for forgetting. If anybody has something that they just can't get out of their head. I had a car accident one time, and I saw this guy. He was hit by another car and kind of thrown into my car. Now, he survived, but I heard a crack, and I believed he was dead at the time, right? And I couldn't get the guy's face out of my head for 2 weeks. But here's what I did. You replay the image, you replay the whole scene in your head, because you can't help it when you're traumatized. You're going to be replaying it. So take control of the process, but change it just a little bit each time. Change what the guy is wearing, put a costume on it, put silly music to it, have other people running around in the image, things like that. Every time you go through it one after another, and make one little change each time, and then you'll find that you can't remember it the original way anymore. You put scratches in the record, basically, and that takes the power away from that memory. I've had people do this with severely traumatic memories I cannot say live on the air, and they feel so much better afterwards. There's a lightening up, because sometimes the brain does need help to forget these things. Sometimes you do have to put scratches in there yourself.
Dave, please tell me you're going to write a screenplay, because I cannot wait to watch the movie that you write it. But this is all so fascinating. Dave Farrow, you can head to multiple places you can go. DaveFarrow.com, Farrow is one. If you can't remember that, hit up BrainHackers.com. I would love to have you back, because I'd like to, if we remember to reach out to you, excuse me, I'd love to have you back because there's so much more we can talk about.
Really quickly, Dave, before we kind of shuffle off this radio coil, is there a book in particular you want to point our listeners to that you'd like them to dig into?
Yeah, like what we were talking about is really summed up. The place to start is my book, BrainHacker. It's on Amazon, and you also have it available on audiobook for those of you who want to listen. Pick it up. It's really built for people with ADD, by the way. Every chapter has a summary, and it has bullet points on it, but it also has stories that help the lessons really stick. And I put a lot of effort into it to make it easier to read. So check out BrainHacker.
Is there real quick with that book, is it better on audio or tangible for my memory? Which is better?
It's completely up to you. Yeah, it's equal either way.
Okay.
Just however you consume it and however you're comfortable with it.
Sweet. Dave Farrow, thanks very much for making the time. We will talk to you hopefully again. Best of luck.
Thank you, sir.